Well, so much for it being a Facebook Friday Q&A, but Q&A nonetheless. Thanks to those of you that went to the OTR Central Facebook page and posted your questions for the Q&A that is now coming to you on Saturday. Let me see how many of these I can get through. Michael Williamson, would Daniel Bryan be a credible challenger for Lesnar if he was healthy? He beat Cena clean, he beat Triple H clean, and he made Batista tap. Is this a serious question? He beat Cena clean. You mean the one-arm Cena at SummerSlam that they went out of great expense and great lengths to make sure that they emphasized the fact that Cena was one-armed and he wasn't 100%? I guess technically he beat him clean, but he couldn't beat the guy at 100%. And they never went back down that path. Yes, he beat Triple H clean, and he made Batista tap at a night where they made Daniel Bryan into fucking Superman. But is he a credible challenger for Brock Lesnar based off of the way that they've booked Brock Lesnar in 2014? Get the fuck out of here. With that said, I do feel that the dynamics of what they did with Lesnar and Cena were supposed to originally have been for Lesnar and Daniel Bryan, and I think they would have worked a whole lot better. Because if it involved Daniel Bryan, then people would have, I don't give a fuck what anybody says, people would have shitted all over Brock Lesnar getting the fucking title. I promise you, dollar to a donut, any other fucking saying you want to say, that if Brock Lesnar takes that strap at SummerSlam off of Daniel Bryan, the internet's flaming keyboard fingers of fire explode and burn off, and people become dismembered with their anger and their rage, and they fucking know it. There are two types of people that would come to that type of result: the people that know they would be pissed and acknowledge it openly, and the people that would be pissed about it but would pretend to be okay with a part-timer Lesnar winning the title. Get the fuck out of here. But the dynamics of it would have worked so much better if it was Daniel Bryan as opposed to Cena. Because then at least, Lesnar would have actually gotten booed like he's supposed to be getting booed. Tony Bilick. Would this work, yes or no? If John Cena switched "You Can't See Me" to "You Can't Be Me," and changed his attitude to how he's better than everyone in the locker room and taunted the crowd backstage versus during chants. What you're proposing basically is a character change. So, of course, in one way it would work, but it would never work for the WWE because they never get behind it and they never want to do it. Also, you have to look at this and you say, okay, so you're turning him into the more traditional heel, which then the adult fans might actually cheer him. So I don't know that it would work. Cena's the perfect example of if a TNA or a wrestling company was like a legit challenger and like legitimately offered some of the things that WCW used to offer in the 90s, you could take Cena to that new area, to that new company, and do entirely different things with them that the WWE can't do and won't do, and you'd get a lot more shelf life and a lot more interesting things out of the John Cena character. LaRon Price, what's the greatest match to end in disqualification? I don't know if I've got one. You also asked, would you have a threesome with Karma and Tori or China and Nicole Bass? Karma and Tori, yes. China and Nicole Bass, no, because I don't know what would be poking at me, from where, and how. Igor Martinovich, should Rey Mysterio get a proper end of his WWE career? Oh, sure. He should get a proper send-off. He should get a proper ending. I don't know that he will, but he should. William Dominic Con Martinez, can you give us your best Peyton Manning impression? I don't know if you have a specific, impression. I take that back. Envision the regular season. My name's Peyton Manning. I feel incredible. I'm on top of the world. I'm better than anybody could imagine. Come the playoffs. If I had somebody else here with me, they would be impersonating Eli Manning trying to give Peyton the Heimlich maneuver in the playoffs because he consistently chokes. I don't give a fuck what type of spin people try to put on. The reason he chokes is because the things that work to his benefit in the regular season don't work so well in the playoffs. Mainly the amount of preparation that he does and the thinking he does throughout the game. in big-time spots and big-time situations. This is a problem going back to his days at Tennessee. It's paralysis by analysis. There are two types of people when it comes to this. People that understand this and realize he's an all-time great quarterback that is flawed, and sometimes the things that make him great are his biggest flaws in those biggest moments. And the idiots that want to sit there and say, implying that is ultimate Peyton Manning hatred, and it's just completely and totally fucking ridiculous. You saw it in Super Bowl 48. Peyton Manning was not the only reason that that team lost by no stretch of the imagination. They didn't want the Seahawks. They couldn't hang with the Seahawks. The Seahawks punked their bitch asses out. They scared the Denver Broncos. But as the quarterback and as the leader of the team, Peyton Manning and what happened with him is a reflection of what the entire team ended up doing because they followed his lead. He got scared. He was an example of paralysis by analysis. He tightened up where the Seahawks are playing loose and free. The Broncos are stiff and unsure of themselves and lacking confidence, and then they get scared, and it's a wrap. Flat out. Knowing damn good and well that if Peyton Manning and his Broncos win Super Bowl 48, many people are crowning his ass as the greatest quarterback of all time. But now when it comes time to lose, we find all of these other excuses. Well, the defense sucked and did this and did this. Well, you know what? The Broncos defense could have allowed 10 points to the Seahawks the whole game, and they still would have lost. So what's your point? Mitch Lopez, will you review SmackDown 15? No, because that would imply that I would watch it. And even if it's the 15th anniversary of SmackDown, I don't see why I would watch it. Marquise Dawson, fuck, marry, kill. Naomi, Cameron, Alicia Fox. Cameron seems like a pretty good ghetto fuck, so I'd probably fuck her. I'd marry Naomi and kill Alicia. Too skinny for me. Let's see here. Andrew Scobie. I was 7 years old when the invasion angle took place. Would you laugh at me if I told you it was my favorite storyline as a little kid? No. Because at that time, as a kid, I'm sure it was awesome. There were a lot of things that you would look at and you would say were awesome, especially since you were at a point in time where you weren't really invested in the old ECW, the old WCW, the real attitude era of the WWF. You weren't around to remember and fully experience the Monday Night Wars. So no, I could see why you would enjoy that storyline tremendously and still have a fond place for it in your heart. And that's where I talk about the generational thing with the invasion angle of 2001. If you're age 25 and under, you probably love it, think it's one of the greatest things ever. If you're over 25 or so, you know that it was a drizzling pile of shit. You understand why it was a drizzling pile of shit, and it's probably something that still pisses you off as a wrestling fan to this day. It's a generational thing. Julia Johnson, so in order for WWE to truly change for the better, do you think financial income has to become so low that WWE is bordering on a TNA budget? I don't know if it has to get to that level, but there has to be a point somewhere down the road where if all of a sudden, and you see it every year during Monday Night Football, Raw's rating, a couple of years ago was a 3.2, 3.3. That was bad. Now it gets to a 3.0, 2.9. That's bad. Now you're hovering into the 2.6 to 2.8 range, and that's even worse. What happens if you start eventually in a couple of years getting to that point where you're at the 2.0 range? That's not a lot of spin you could put on that to make that seem positive. That's when you have to really start to wonder, especially if people aren't consistently showing up to your live events. That's when stuff would change because they wouldn't have a choice. They would have to acknowledge the fact that there is no more spin. You could talk about pounding Cena all you want in a certain spot, but if people aren't coming to the shows, people aren't subscribing to the network, and your ratings are dropping, then you'd have to be a delusional idiot to think that the stuff that you're doing is working. Gerard Jazz Montague. We all know that the Bellas can work the stick, but will they ever be good on the mic? These are the type of questions I want more of, damn it. This is awesome. I don't think Nikki's that bad on the mic. I think Brie is brutal. The less acting and talking we get from her, the better. But I don't think Nikki's been terrible. I think she's been passable. It's just she has nothing to really play with when it comes to Brie. Everett Harding, who's your favorite heel of all time for any company or period of time? Favorite heel? Favorite heel would probably have to be somebody like the Macho Man Randy Savage or Jake the Snake Roberts. Those would be two of my favorite heels of all time. Brandon Acevedo. Psycho Sid versus Sin Cara, a 60-minute Iron Man match where falls or botches and injuries only. Who wins? The fans. Everybody who gets to watch that masterpiece. You can take CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan versus Dolph Ziggler with an AJ Styles run-in and shove it up your ass, IWC. Give me a 60-minute main event at WrestleMania Iron Man match with Psycho Sid and Sin Cara, and it'll be magic. Ebony Bow. How funny would it be to hook up Vinnie Mac to the lie detector test like they did with him in Mr. America? Really, Hogan? Yeah, exactly. And ask him, how bad do you want to hook up with your all-time favorite John Cena? Who wants to bet that when he got to that answer, it would be in the shape of a penis? He'd be like, John Cena, wee, penis, Or maybe it would go like flatline, John Cena. It'd be a penis and two balls. Myth Rander Oblivion. Will you ever make a Jets stupid video? I could at some point, but I think it pretty much speaks for itself. Frank Gibson, do you think that John Cena leaves WWE? And if he does, who will be the face of WWE? Well, I'm sure someday he'll leave. I don't know when. I would anticipate it coming anytime soon. And who will be the face of the WWE? Oh, God only knows what crap they do after that. They don't know. They don't have any plans for that. Jaden Nance, who is better, Eddie Guerrero or Chris Benoit? Chris Benoit was, you know, not nearly the all-around performer, in my opinion, that Eddie Guerrero was. I think Eddie Guerrero was better on the mic. He had better personality. He had more outgoing charisma. They were similar in the ring, so I'll take Eddie Guerrero, no question. And he didn't kill his family, allegedly. Hell with Chris Benoit. Brent Rowe, do you think that Vince McMahon purposely sent Vince Russo to ultimately kill a dying WCW? I understand that that's an interesting conspiracy theory, but WCW is already starting to kill themselves anyways. Why would Vince need to sit there and do that? Really, why would he? Why potentially gum up the works? No, I don't buy that. I believe fully and always will to the day I die that the Montreal Screwjob was a work, and I have a lot of reason to believe that, but I don't buy this being a work of Russo getting sent to WCW to kill it. It might have seemed like that based off of the crap that Russo tried to do, but I don't buy that. James Kempster, I heard that Lana was dating Rusev. Does this mean I got a shot? Probably not, brother. Sorry to disappoint you. I mean, I guess you want to give her some shots, you know. Maybe you have to tell her you've got communists coming. I don't know. Anyways, Kenneth Tapp. What did you mean when you said the Breakfast Club when you mentioned wrestling? Wow, you must be new to things. The Breakfast Club. No, you know what? I won't even answer this. The people watching this will fill you in on what the Breakfast Club is, because them via typing will be able to go into much greater detail in the period of time as opposed to me just talking about it. So it refers, though, to Triple H, Cena, Orton, guys like Batista, Sheamus. Used to refer to Shawn Michaels. The other viewers will clue you in on that. Taryn Rooks, how would you push the brothers of... Oh, I get what you're trying to say, man. I'm sorry. You put an N instead of a B. Come on. Maybe put it on your phone. Check this stuff. How would you push the brothers Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt if you were given creative control over them? Bo Dallas would still be undefeated, that accidental winner, beating everybody by one way or another, by hook or by crook. And then Bray Wyatt would be featured in a way that is not the way he's currently being featured, which seems to be now is being used as a catalyst to launch a Luke Harper singles push. Because that's fucking stupid. I'd had Bray Wyatt beat John Cena clean at WrestleMania 30. And, you know, in my opinion, nobody should be bigger than the brand, the WWE, and that includes Cena. And I don't care what it means to the business. There are certain things you just don't sacrifice. And if Cena didn't want to play ball at WrestleMania 30, and I'm not saying that he didn't, but I'm not saying that he did want to play ball either. If he didn't want to play ball, he has two options. He either does what he's told or he gets the fuck out. Like, there's too much of this protecting certain individuals crap, and it's hurt the brand over the years. Ashwin Ash, what was the best feud that you ever witnessed in WWE/WWF? Hogan Andre, Hogan Savage. Those will be 2 right off the top of the bat. Undertaker Kane. Austin McMahon, obviously. So those would be some of the ones that stand out to me. And you also asked if you were made charge of WWE's writing team, what changes would you make? The first change that I would work for before I did anything else, not trying to sit there and fire people on the creative team or anything like that. First thing I've got to do is I've got to make myself, if I'm in charge of the writing team, then I need to be in charge of the writing team. There's no me being in charge, but I've got to get full approval from Vince and or Triple H. You put me into this job for a specific reason. I need to be allowed to do the things in the way that I see fit. At which point in time, you can bitch at me for the results later, but I'm going to have full and complete control over the creative process within the guidelines that I'm given. To sit there and put me in charge of creative, but I still have to answer to other people about the creative, that's fucking stupid. That would be the only way. That would be the only way. And, people could talk about Rusev and Ferrara back in the day, but they didn't have quite as many members of the creative team. It was a smaller group, and these were the guys that were in charge of writing the show. And it was a smaller group, and it was probably better then. Now you look at it, like I said, you've got a creative team, you've got lead writers, head writers, but then they've still got to answer to a bunch of different people. It just gums up the works. You need to have one vision, one direction. If you've put me there, it's because you want me to give you this vision and direction. And by God, I'm going to give it to you. And then I'll be accountable to the results, good, bad, or otherwise, later on down the road. But I would refuse to sit there and have Vince saying, no, we're going to do this. No, we're going to do that. Because I don't give a fuck who you are. You put me in charge of this. This is my job. I'm running this fucking show. And sometimes you got to be able to stand up to people like that. It could get you into some trouble. Sure, it could burn some bridges, but fuck it. What's the alternative? You're going to be sit there and associated with this crap that was all brutalized by people above you that shouldn't be involved in the process? That would be the biggest change before anything else. Before you look at the members of the creative team, the direction, the philosophy, any of that, a streamlining must occur. And that streamlining, again, is that if I'm in charge of creative fully and totally, no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm the HNIC of all that you see from creative, period. Let's see here. Drew Johnston, whatever happened to the Supper Club? I had a bunch of big plans for it, and then if I remember correctly, I think that was right around the time that Smokey passed away, so I kind of lost my desire to do it. Sorry. Conspiracy theorist. With Hulk Hogan being the host of WrestleMania 30, a lot of people to this day feel he should have been involved with WrestleMania 20 and to a lesser degree 25 in some way. But we never hear of anybody saying that Hogan should have been involved with WrestleMania 10, which I think he should have, seeing as was in the Garden. Nobody mentions that. Why is that? Well, because he was involved with WCW at the time. He was under contract with WCW, so that's why nobody really talks about WrestleMania 10 and his involvement. And nor do I think he needed to be involved with that show. WrestleMania 20 in the Garden, yes, he needed to be involved with that show. To me, that was a terrible miss for all parties involved, that the guy that main evented the first WrestleMania in Madison Square Garden, come WrestleMania 20, isn't involved in any way, shape, or form. As far as WrestleMania 25, to me, that would have always been an ideal place to do Cena versus Hogan if they were going to do it. That would have been your last chance. That was one of those huge money attraction matches that they could have had that could have helped Cena tremendously and the company tremendously as well. But should they have had him involved at 20? Yes, absolutely. No doubt in my mind about it. Frankly, at 20 is probably when he actually should have been the headliner of that Hall of Fame class, not the next year of 21 in LA. Michael Gibson, why do you think the WWE never did a Jake the Snake versus Hulk Hogan feud? Well, both of them kind of alluded to this in 86, 87. They were trying to go there, but this was at a time where you didn't really want to split the crowd. It wasn't accepted. It wasn't a good thing to do. Not that it is a good thing still to this day to do on a consistent basis like the business does. But when you have Jake, DDT, and Hogan, and instead of people getting behind Hogan, they're cheering Jake, you've got problems. You don't want to sit there and sabotage shit for the sake of one feud, knowing that Hogan was the one buttering your bread at that time. Why fuck it up? Why change it? Why do something that you could potentially really regret? It's shame. It sucks that they never went there. I always thought that maybe they could have went back there in the early 90s, maybe on the heels of the feud with Jake and Savage, having him come back to help out Miss Elizabeth and Randy. You could have maybe done Jake and Hogan at WrestleMania 8. That maybe could have been a time that would have worked. Yeah, it sucks that it never happened, but I understand why. And even Jake and Hogan both alluded to it, that it wasn't the right way. It wasn't a good idea. It sucks that it didn't happen, but it didn't happen. Ishmael Tarawali. If Orton had a ring boner and a gun to your head and told you to touch it, would you? Touching the gun or the ring boner? This must be a question. Chase, is that you? I think that's Chase asking this question. We know what he would do. He'd be like, do I touch it with my mouth or my butthole? Rodrigo Machado. Should WWE send John Cena to grant a wish to a dying TNA? Oh, God. That's it. That's it. Thanks, you guys, for submitting your questions. Be back Monday with another Q&A. Oh, Christ.